Israel Adesanya.
28-0!
McGregor
Talking about a guy who is...
Hey, what's up my homies? Lay here for UFC Gambling Addicts, back again for another UFC full card breakdown and predictions video. This one's a big one, man. It's the pay-per-view. Israel Adesanya taking on Marvin Vettori. And we've got the rematch between Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno as a co-main event. As always guys, make sure you head kick the like button, whatever techniques you want to use. Even if you want to go Biggie Boy style. You know, finish the like button with a second left. It's up to you. I do have some shout outs to give in the smoke break, but before we get there, let's make some predictions and break down some fights. Alright guys, we've got Carlos Felipre taking on Jake Collier. So let's start by saying this is a heavyweight fight. As we know with heavyweight, anything can happen. We've just seen that with Sakai and Rosenstruik. It doesn't matter if the fight's looking, you know, quite respectful between both guys. It literally takes one shot at heavyweight. Jake Collier obviously has the power to knock out Carlos, and Carlos without a doubt has the power to knock out Jake Collier. Now taking a look at Jake's last fight, which was against Jean Volonté, I noticed he used a lot of calf kicks in this fight, especially early, which was quite a smart game plan. You know, if you go back and watch that, Jake Collier instantly landing low kicks. Carlos Felipre, he's looked pretty good in the UFC so far. He debuted against Spivak, that one didn't go too well. He was taken down. But since then, I think Carlos Felipre has shown his ability. Against Justin Tafa, you know, the scorecards could have gone either way, right? I think as the fight went on in that second round, Carlos Felipre was looking a little bit better. But round 3, he was obviously very tired. So yeah, we've got a heavyweight fight to start the card. I'm gonna side with Carlos Felipre. I think he's a little bit quicker, more natural of a heavyweight. Now I'm not saying Jake Collier isn't a heavyweight, because when you look at the size of him, he's a big boy. But Jake Collier spent most of his career below heavyweight, right? So that alone is making me want to side with the Brazilian. So my prediction is going to be Carlos Felipre, potentially a TKO, maybe a decision. My numbers, I'd put Carlos around minus 180, Jake plus 150. And the actual numbers, we've got Carlos Felipre minus 180 up to minus 200, Jake Collier plus 150 up to plus 170. Yeah, I completely agree with these numbers. I think Carlos Felipre rightfully the favourite. I wouldn't go above minus 200 because like we said with the start of the breakdown, at heavyweight anything can happen. Now this next one guys is a complete pick'em in my opinion. I don't want to spend too long on it because yeah, I've been going back and forth on this one. It is difficult. So we've got Faraz Ziam taking on Luigi Vendramini. And what a name that is by the way. Luigi Vendramini. Brilliant. So let's start with Faraz Ziam. This guy seems to be primarily a striker. I wouldn't say he's a super high level striker. Nowhere near. But he's not a bad one. You know, if you look at the striking against Jamie Malarkey, his hands are up nice and high. They seem to be in the right place. The low kick, that's a weapon. You know, he fires out that low kick. It's pretty quick too. As for his grappling, it's hard to gauge how good his grappling is. In his debut, he put Don Madge up against the fence. And even against Jamie Malarkey, towards the end of that fight, he reversed the position and was able to end up on top, land some ground and pound. So yeah, the scout report for Faraz Ziam, it needs a bit more information. And we're going to get that in this fight. The opponent, Luigi Vendramini, primarily a jiu-jitsu practitioner. However, his Muay Thai isn't bad. You can see his striking in his most recent fight against Jessin Ayari. He was able to stun the opponent, and from there he just put it on him. You know, ended that fight with a head kick. A really nice way to return to the octagon after 2 years off. Earlier on today I was thinking Ziam wins, and then I switched my mind to Vendramini, and now I've swapped back to Ziam. So yeah, if you've got a fight on this card, guys, where you're thinking this guy wins, no, the other guy wins. If you're going back and forth on a matchup, that is a green flag to tell you don't bet it, right? That's a green flag. Yeah, that's a good sign. Don't bet this fight. My prediction's going to be for Ziam. I think he's a little bit better of a striker and can maybe grapple with Luigi too. But like I said, complete pick'em in my opinion. So I'll side with Ziam, and my numbers, man, I'm keeping them close. I'll put Ziam -130, Luigi +100. And the actual numbers, both of these guys are -110. Yeah, it's spot on. I mean, Ziam's young, Luigi's young. They haven't had a lot of experience before the UFC, and they haven't got a lot of experience inside the UFC. So yeah, one guy's going to go up, one guy's going to go down. And it's tough to say who that's going to be. I'm going to side with the Frenchman. Steven Peterson taking on Chase Hooper. Another difficult one to be quite confident in. So how does this one play out, guys? Let's get straight to the story. Steven Peterson's a scrappy guy. Chase Hooper is purely a BJJ practitioner. So straight away you're thinking, is the BJJ practitioner good enough to submit Steven Peterson? The answer to that question, in my opinion, is yes. He's definitely good enough to submit Steven Peterson. But Chase Hooper isn't a wrestler, and his striking, I think most of the MMA community would agree, it needs to be improved, right? We understand he's purely a jiu-jitsu guy, but when the fight isn't on the mat, you have to strike. And Chase Hooper, in all fairness, his striking isn't good enough. So the way you make a prediction in this one is, do you think Steven Peterson can go 15 minutes without being submitted? Or do you think Steven Peterson could potentially knock out Chase Hooper inside those 15 minutes? Now, if you look at Hooper's last fight against Peter Barrett, he was losing. He was losing that whole fight up until the point he pulled off a heel hook. Yeah, that's the level that Chase Hooper is operating at when it comes to jiu-jitsu. The reason why I say it's a difficult matchup is because Chase Hooper has no striking to offer. Hopefully he can show improvements, but as MMA fans we can only hope. Look at Dusko Todorovic, no striking defense improvement. Look at Lipski, no takedown defense improvement. Chase Hooper is young, he's 21 years old. So I hope, man, I hope the striking has improved. Regardless if it has or hasn't, I'm still going to pick Chase Hooper. I think at some point he will find the back of Steven Peterson, and it could be a wrap at that point. So I'll take Chase Hooper via submission. My numbers, I would put Chase Hooper a favourite, but not by a lot, because there is that what if? What if the striking hasn't improved? What if the submission doesn't come? In that case, Steven Peterson may have more output and the bigger shots on the feet. So I'll put Chase Hooper around -140. And the actual numbers, both of these guys -110. Yeah, you can't argue. A lot of people are fading Chase Hooper purely because of the striking. And a lot of people are kind of thinking, you know what, Chase? You've got to show some improvements here. It's only Steven Peterson, right? It's difficult. It is a difficult one. Alright guys, we've got Matt Frevola taking on Frank the Crank Camacho. I think Matt Frevola, wrestling background, he should probably look to level change multiple times in this fight. Having said that, Frank Camacho, despite trying to use a lot of power in his matchups, he's primarily a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I don't know how many of you guys knew that. You look at some of the moments Frank Camacho's had where he got put out by Justin James, head kicked by Jeff Neal, outmatched by Drew Dober. The guy likes to strike. He wants to try and put you out. Despite some of the bad moments he's had, I don't think it's going to be wise for Matt Frevola to stand and trade. I think he should still level change, despite the jiu-jitsu threat that Frank Camacho is going to offer. It's a good matchup, a difficult fight to predict, even though Frank Camacho hasn't looked great in the UFC. He's like 2 wins, 5 losses inside the UFC. He's still got big punching power. And the jiu-jitsu background, it's a good background to have. He just doesn't use it often. I'm going to side with Matt Frevola. I'm not super confident because Matt is still young in his MMA career. But I like his wrestling. I like how relentless Matt Frevola can be inside the octagon. So that's the pick I'm going to make. My numbers, I'd put Matt around -150. Pannie Kianzad taking on Alexis Davis. And this is another decent matchup on this card. So let's start with Pannie. Pannie is primarily a boxer and wrestler. You can see her using both of those bases in her fights. She's coming off a win to Sarge Eubanks where the first round she may be lost. But as you can see in round 2, her cardio holds up. You know, against the fence, she starts to reverse these positions. She's able to land takedowns, offer more in the clinch. Pannie Kianzad really is a decent fighter. Now the opponent, Alexis Davis, she's primarily a grappler. She wants to take you to the mat, basically end up on top, use her jiu-jitsu. However, if you take a look at Alexis' last fight, against Sabina Mazo, high output. And the weapon of choice was the low kick. She used that low kick so many times. You got to a point where you're thinking, Sabina Mazo, can you check one of them? Can you just check one, Sabina, please? But no, Alexis Davis just landed that low kick over and over and over. Despite the striking performance that she put on against Sabina, specifically the low kick, I don't think it's going to happen that way against Pannie Kianzad. I think Alexis will try to push a higher pace again. She's going to try to get into the face of Pannie, but that boxing, the straight jab down the barrel from Pannie Kianzad, and her wrestling base, which could also hold up in a matchup against Alexis Davis. Yeah, I'm going to side with Pannie Kianzad. My numbers, I'd put Pannie around -200. And that's just how highly I rate her. I went against her on the Ultimate Fighter. Then I went against her with Julia. And then I've taken her every fight since. So my pick record with Pannie Kianzad, it's on point. Now the actual numbers. We've got Alexis +170, +180. Pannie Kianzad -200 going up to -230. Yeah, you're kind of hoping for a better line on Pannie. You know, but it's clear to see a lot of people laying money. They understand her boxing. They understand her wrestling. Yeah, it's hard to find good lines sometimes. There's a lot of good scouts out there. My pick's going to be Pannie Kianzad. Alright guys, moving on to Hakeem Dawodu taking on Movsar Evloev. Man, this pay-per-view, it's a good one. So let's start with Hakeem. Hakeem is primarily a Muay Thai practitioner. So that essentially means I'm going to punch you, elbow you, land some knees, and I'm going to kick you. That's what Muay Thai is. It's the art of 8 limbs. Now Evloev isn't a Muay Thai practitioner, but he has trained at Tiger Muay Thai. You know, Movsar can stand and trade. There's a clear path to victory for Hakeem. There's a clear path to victory for Evloev. I wouldn't say Evloev needs to shoot constantly, like he's in danger every second the fight's on the feet. I don't think there's that much of a gap in the striking. But Evloev will need to mix it up with takedowns. He's got a level change, at least to fatigue Hakeem. I was rewatching the Hakeem versus Zubaira fight, and I kind of realised that Hakeem a little bit tentative to let his hands go. He's way more inclined to kicking you than he is punching you. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's with the debut where Danny Henry starched him. I'm not sure what it is. But Hakeem Dawodu, he is a good Muay Thai practitioner. He just prefers the kicking side of Muay Thai. Ultimately, guys, I think Evloev is going to have the higher output, better cardio, and most likely is going to get takedowns. So purely for those reasons, I'm going to side with the Russian. My numbers, I'm putting Evloev at least a -220. At least. The scout report tells me this guy is a potential future champion. And the actual numbers, we've got Evloev minus 250 all the way up to minus 280. A lot of people laying money. It's clear to see why. And that's not a downplay on Hakeem. Hakeem is a good kicker. He's pretty violent. He's got power. But Evloev, man, he's pretty well rounded. So I do understand why he's a heavy favourite. Lauren Murphy taking on JoJo Calderwood. This one, in my opinion, is a pick'em. Let's start with Lauren Murphy. She's been on a good win streak. Wins over Mara Barella, Andrea Lee, Roxanne Modafferi, and even that Shakarova girl that she recently fought. I even took Lauren Murphy to get a submission in that fight. And even in round 2, I think. So yeah, man, Lauren Murphy, she's been doing good things. It's clear to see she's a very strong lady. If she grabs a hold of you and uses that strength, you're in for a tough fight. I wouldn't say her striking is better than JoJo, but styles make fights. The striker in this one is going to be Calderwood. She's got better speed, better knees, kicks. JoJo Calderwood has to keep to striking. If you're Lauren Murphy, you have to clinch up the opponent. Continue to do what she's been doing, and that's grappling. Like I said, it's a pure pick'em. It really is. But I'm going to side with JoJo. And the logic behind it is purely, I hope she can strike a little bit more than being grappled. You know, the logic behind it isn't great. But if you're picking Lauren Murphy, I think it's the same thing. The logic isn't strong. But you'd hope that she grapples a little bit more than allowing JoJo to strike. So yeah, my prediction's going to be JoJo. Not super confident. I'd keep the numbers close. I'd put JoJo around minus 120. Lauren Murphy plus 110. And the actual numbers, we've got JoJo minus 150. Lauren Murphy plus 110, plus 120. Yeah, I mean, it's in the ballpark. It's in the ballpark. I wouldn't want to play it though. You know, if you're betting on Lauren Murphy, it's a real shot in the dark. If you're betting on JoJo, you got to hope that she doesn't get grappled. Because Lauren Murphy is a stronger fighter, physically. Eric Anders taking on Darren Stewart. Now, we've already seen this fight. We saw this fight a couple months ago. And it looked like Eric Anders was going to get a stoppage. He was hurting Darren Stewart. He had him in a bad place. But then he landed that illegal knee. And that's when the fight stopped. I was kind of thinking that Darren was going to, you know, say to the ref, look, I'm good, let's fight. Because that's what the English are like, you know. We don't look for a way out. And I know Darren Stewart, he's a real warrior. And I'm not saying he's not a warrior, because the fight didn't go on. But I thought Darren was going to be a little bit more tough. But we get the rematch. You know, the rematch is here. So what's the difference? Instead of this fight taking place at middleweight, for some reason it's taking place at 205. I'm not sure how much that's going to affect this fight. Darren's cardio didn't really hold up in the first fight. But that could be because his camp, it wasn't a proper camp. We had lockdown over here, and he said he was training Rambo style, like going through the trenches and all that kind of crazy stuff. It's a really difficult prediction to make. You kind of lean towards Eric Anders, considering how the first fight went. You know, Eric done better work. It has to be said. But I'm gonna stick with Darren, man. And some people may say, you're just sticking with Darren because he's English, you're English. I just think if Darren, you know, can show better cardio here. If he can show better cardio, stick to the jab, and utilise good movement, he can beat Eric Anders. It's a tough one though. It's a really difficult fight. I'm looking forward to seeing the rematch in this one. My numbers, I'm keeping them real close. I'd put both of these guys minus 110. It's a who the hell knows. It really is. And the actual numbers, we've got Eric Anders minus 140. Darren coming back plus 110, plus 120. Yeah, I agree with it too. You know, if Darren can implement his strategy a little bit better, he can win this one. Eric Anders has a lot of power. He maybe wants to wrestle. You know, if you wrestle Darren Stewart, it always looks good. It's a good fight. Alright, we've got Brad Riddell taking on Drew Dober. Oh my god, this is a firefight, guys. Drew Dober, primarily a striker. He likes to plant his feet and land that power. Brad Riddell, primarily a striker. He likes to plant his feet and land that power. You kind of feel like this one isn't going the distance. Having said that, you look at Todorovic and Gregory Rodriguez. Most of us felt that wasn't going the distance either. Somehow it did. A lot of big punches in that fight. I think there's going to be a lot of big punches in this one too. Now, Drew Dober may be smart to look to wrestle, maybe level change. But man, he's primarily a striker. And if you're picturing these two in a kickboxing scenario, it's anyone's guess, man. Drew Dober, he's been climbing. You look at the way he put out Nasrat, just nasty. You look at Brad Riddell landing shots against Jamie Malarkey. How Jamie Malarkey didn't go out, I'll never know. It's a firefight. If Drew Dober sleeps Brad, I'm not going to be shocked. If Brad Riddell sleeps Drew Dober, I'm definitely not going to be shocked. I'm going to take Brad Riddell. I think his chin is a little bit more durable. But having said that, when has Drew Dober really been dropped? When has he really been slept? Hasn't happened. My numbers, I'm keeping them close again. I'd put Brad Riddell around -120, Drew Dober +110. If you're Drew Dober, you really may be smart to grapple. Brad Riddell wants a firefight. Alright, my homies, you know what time it is. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, triple amen, gang. Let's go. I hope all of you guys are having a blessed day, a blessed week. I'm excited for this pay-per-view, man. I'm really excited. I know you guys are too. Alright guys, so for this smoke break, I want to start off by saying this is my Instagram, UFC Lay. And I want to start by saying thank you so much to the 20 people who signed up to my Patreon in the first week, which is just crazy. It's crazy to think about. I was saying to one of my friends, man, 20 people signed up straight away. And he said to me, literally the first thing he said to me was, man, you have got some loyal subscribers. And literally, I was thinking, bro, so true. So true, man. I'm blessed. I'm lucky. The community I've built, guys, just thank you, man. Thank you, guys. I'll post you down below as well. All 20 of you. Amen. Now, for week 1, I am going to recap the Patreon and build that gambling portfolio account like I said. We are going to do that over the month of June, July, August. We're going to do that for the rest of the year. So week 1, guys, I advised we bet on Mason Jones, right? We had Mason Jones and Roman Dolidze, which was like +122. And then we had Mason Jones and Tanner Boser. Now, rethinking about the Tanner Boser pick, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but he did... the read was after round 1, Latifi's cardio isn't going to hold up. And it kind of looked that way in round 2. In round 2, Tanner Boser, he was kind of close at one point to getting a finish. And the in-play on Tanner Boser was like -1,600 in round 2, which is crazy. Same thing with Miguel Baeza. The in-play, it was crazy. But Latifi being Latifi, man, he had a good, strong last round with the wrestling. Round 1, it goes either way. But obviously with the Mason Jones eye poke situation, man, you hate to see it. You really hate to see it. So for this week on UFC 263, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look for that 2-fight parlay and try to nail it. Now, I do have one smoke break question for you guys. And also, I want to do a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of philosophy in this smoke break. It's a pay-per-view. Let's kill the smoke break on this one. The smoke break question, I'm going to say it, guys. I've asked it before. I'll ask it again. The eye pokes. How do we sort the eye pokes? Right, it's obvious, right? We just change the gloves. But then again, if you're taking away the fingers with the gloves, might affect the grappling a little bit, you know? But it needs to be sorted, man. I don't like these eye pokes. You know, and obviously no one wants to get eye poked. I don't want to get eye poked. You don't want to get eye poked. Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. Now, the wisdom I want to give you guys. The wisdom. Let's do a bit of wisdom. Right. So if I can help one person with this, yeah? One person. That's a job well done. Now, the voice in your head, right? Say you go to the comment section right now and you start reading the comments. You're going to read that with the voice in your head. Yeah, you can hear your voice. That's the voice you identify as me, right? That's me. Now, this voice in our head, guys, everyone's got this voice in their head. It can be your best friend and it can be your worst friend. I think that goes for all of us. The wisdom I want to give you, right? If that voice in your head, if your friend spoke to you the way you speak to yourself in your head, would you be friends with that person? Now, if everyone said, yes, I would be friends with that person, hey, that's an amen, right? But the sad thing is, man, not everyone said yes to that. You know, that's the sad thing. And life will do that to you, man. Life will do that, right? It's not anyone's fault if you said no to that. Right, life will do that to you. But hey, that voice in your head, yeah, you've got that voice until the end of time. All right, that voice is going to be with you today. It's going to be with you tomorrow. It's going to be with you every single week up until it's time, right? So yeah, that voice has to be your friend. If that voice in your head doesn't sound like that's someone I'd be friends with, you know what to do, man. You got to change it up. All right, guys. So that's going to be the smoke break question and the smoke break wisdom. Hope you guys enjoyed your smoke. Let's break down these fights. All right, homies. Kicking off this main event. Nope. Kicking off this main card. The smoke break hit. We've got Paul Craig taking on Jamahal Hill. So looking at ways that Paul Craig is going to win this fight. If you look at his whole UFC career to date, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's looking to submit you. Now, he did posture up and ground and pound Shogun. Now, he came out in a Muay Thai style. I'm not sure how many of you guys noticed that Paul Craig was using a Muay Thai style when he was striking in that fight. He usually identifies with Kung Fu. So it was strange to see Paul Craig lifting up that lead leg, keeping it nice and light. Yeah, it was weird, but Paul Craig, as we know, he's primarily a grappler. Jamahal Hill, this guy has looked pretty perfect inside the UFC so far. His boxing, you know, his boxing is second to none. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dominic Reyes, you know, just a bit. With that left hand, it comes right down the barrel, real quick. And his left kick, same thing as Dom Reyes, his left kick is really powerful. It's really quick. The question is, will Paul Craig potentially submit Jamahal Hill? Now, Paul Craig is definitely the best grappler that Jamahal Hill would have faced to date. But I still favour Jamahal Hill to use his striking, stay on the feet, and basically just land at will against Paul Craig. And we've got a subscriber question coming from Dave Longoria. UFC Gambling Addicts, highly touted prospect, Dave Longoria. Let's go, Dave. And Dave is a part of my Patreon too. So Dave, thank you, man. We've got to work out some kind of sponsorship, Dave. You know, you wear the UFC GA logo on your shorts. I'll promote you in the smoke breaks. Let's go, Dave. So the question is, do you think Craig will avoid Jamahal Hill's shots long enough to get it to the ground? Yeah, it's a good question, man. I think we need to look at Jamahal Hill's wrestling, which we haven't really seen. We saw him on the Contender Series on the mat, but he may need to stuff a takedown or two Paul Craig will definitely shoot a takedown in this fight. And when it's kept on the feet striking, yeah, it's going to be Jamal Hill. My numbers, I'd put Jamal Hill around -2, -250. But like I said, if it's on the feet, it's -250. If it goes to the mat, now Paul Craig has it in his world. Which, obviously, you wouldn't put Paul Craig +200 on the mat with Jamal Hill. And the actual numbers, we've got Paul Craig +230, Jamal Hill -300. We've got Damian Maia taking on Belal Muhammad. This one's pretty simple. Damian Maia is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners we've ever seen. We know what he's going to do. He wants to grapple Belal Muhammad. If Belal Muhammad can avoid the grappling, he absolutely will win this fight. He's the better puncher, the better kicker, better cardio, younger, probably hungrier at this point too. He will win the striking in this match. So it literally comes down to, can Damian Maia take down Belal Muhammad? And can he submit him? He's obviously one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners. But at 44 years old, I'm not going to predict it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Belal Muhammad. I think even if he's in a little bit of trouble in round 1, the cardio edge should be enough in round 2 and the final round to put Belal ahead of Damian Maia. Belal Muhammad is a workhorse. He's got high output and he will, he's going to scramble. He's going to roll. He's going to look to avoid that groundwork that Damian Maia wants to use. And I think he can. My numbers, I'd put Belal at least -200. And the actual numbers, Belal Muhammad -220 up to -280. Wow. Yeah, I really favour Belal, man. I mean, Damian Maia, I respect him. I respect that jiu-jitsu. It's really dangerous. There's not many better. If anyone's better, it's maybe the Bronx. Hey, guys, we got to spark up for this one. We've got to spark up for this one. We've got Nathan Diaz taking on Leon Edwards. Let's go. Right, as much as I want Diaz to win, and I know I shouldn't really be saying that because Leon Edwards is English, I'm English, I should be rooting for Leon Edwards. I like Nathan Diaz, man. The stoner in me, I'm down with that war. That war mentality that Nathan Diaz has. I like it. I'm a fan. But here's the problem. Toughness doesn't win you fights. What's going to be the story here? Nate Diaz makes it to round 4, makes it to round 5. And now he shows, hey guys, look, I've got better cardio. I'm tougher. I've still got a big heart. I'm pouring it on Leon Edwards after losing 17, 18 minutes. Is that going to be the story here? Leon Edwards has gone 25 minutes before. His cardio is pretty good. Low kicks, powerful. His boxing is brilliant. I think he's going to hurt Nate Diaz, man. I think he's going to hurt him. And we've got a subscriber question from Edis Osmani. Thank you, Edis. Do you think that Leon can cut Diaz and Doctor stops the fight? Yes. Yes, I do, Edis. And I actually think that's more likely than a stoppage inside the round. Now, if Leon Edwards finishes Nate inside the round, wow, that's a big statement. And it's a big statement not because Nathan Diaz is a contender. It's a statement because we know how tough he is, right? My numbers, I'd put Leon around -300. We've got Leon Edwards -550 up to -600. Oh my God. When you picture this fight, you can see the damage that Leon Edwards is going to cause. He's going to land those low kicks. Nathan Diaz has always eaten low kicks. He done well to check a few low kicks against Pettis. But this is a different animal. Leon Edwards is a nasty guy. Is there value in playing Nathan Diaz at +400? Probably not, man, to be honest. I can't see how Nathan wins. I can't see it. Alright, homies, co-main event. We've got Davison Figueiredo taking on Brandon Moreno. I'm excited for this one, man. And this is a rematch. For those of you who don't know, which 99% do, this is a rematch. In the first fight, I took Deiveson Figueiredo by decision. Now, some people said to me that week, Figueiredo by decision? I don't think so. And it was looking likely. You know, it was looking real close. But he had a point taken off of him, which ultimately ended the fight in a draw. Now, the fight was that good. Some people side with Figueiredo winning and some people side with Moreno. I think we can all agree, though, this fight lived up to expectation or exceeded expectation. Deiveson Figueiredo has a really, really good skill set. Almost uses like a karate style on the feet. His boxing is powerful. The jiu-jitsu work on the mat, also very evident. He's a super well-rounded guy, and that's why he's champion. Brandon Moreno showed his toughness. He also showed his heart in their first fight. I think Brandon Moreno basically proved that he can win the title. He can beat Deiveson Figueiredo. Having said all of that, I'm going to stick with Figueiredo here. This is a really difficult co-main to predict, and I'm sure everyone else is thinking, who do I take here? Whatever side you take, it's a sweaty pick. I'm going to take Figueiredo, and this time I think he gets it done inside the distance. And we do have a subscriber question on this one, coming from Stinkfinger, which is a hilarious username, by the way. How much do you think Figgy's illness impacted the first fight? Does McLovin, what, from Superbad? That's hilarious, man. Does McLovin and his camp have enough info to work with in terms of analysing a compromised Figure? Or will Figure finish McLovin this time, granted he's in good health, smooth weight cut? Yeah, man. I think he does. I think he does finish McLovin this time. But like I said, you know, does Brandon Moreno have the heart to go again? Can he do it again? I don't think so. My numbers, I'm going to give Moreno some respect. I'll put Figueiredo minus 170. And we've got Figueiredo minus 250, minus 220. So I believe that's a smaller price than their first fight. If you think Moreno can perform at that level again, take the shot. But I think Figueiredo, he's going to be even more nasty this time. Alright homies, main event. If you haven't head kicked the like button yet, please go ahead and do that. We've got Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, taking on Marvin, the Italian dream Vettori. Now this fight is a rematch. If you go back and watch their first fight, it's clear to see that Israel Adesanya is levels above Marvin Vettori when it comes to striking. If you look at how quick Israel can fire those kicks, it's levels above what Vettori can do in the striking. However, if you look at what Vettori really wants to do to Israel, he's able to do it. In the first fight, he was able to do it. He was able to do it enough to the point that this fight was a split decision. Now, you can say Israel won, you can say Vettori won, you can have that opinion, but you do have to have the opinion that it was close. Or at least that's my opinion. You know, I do believe it was a close fight. And I think Israel won that fight. This fight makes me nervous, man. It makes me nervous, guys. So it's clear to see that Vettori can take down Israel. It's clear to see that Israel can score on the feet against Vettori. We have an extra 10 minutes. We have an extra 10 minutes in this fight. Some people may say the extra 10 minutes favours Vettori. Some people might say it favours Israel. I think in those 10 minutes, it's going to favour the guy who's willing to go further. It's going to favour the guy who's tired but just keeps pushing on. That's the guy it's going to favour. I don't think skill's going to come into it at that point. You know, we're 15 minutes in, both guys are fatigued. Who wants it more? That's who the championship rounds are going to favour. Now, I want to show you guys my pick history with Israel Adesanya. I haven't picked against him. I took him in my debut. I took him here. I took him every single step of the way. Even when he stepped up to 205. He's made me a lot of money. Now let me show you my pick history with Vettori. I went against him in the first fight. I went against him with Omari, and this was a draw. And since then, I've picked him every single fight. Both of these guys have made me a lot of money, man. Guys, I know this may shock some people. And to be honest, man, I'm kind of shocking myself here. I'm going to pick Marvin Vettori to win the title. I'm going to do it, man. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong, because Israel Adesanya, in my opinion, arguably the best striker in the UFC. But I think Marvin Vettori is just hungry, man. He's really hungry. He keeps trash talking. He keeps talking like he deserves the title. Well, now you're going to get your chance. I think round 4 and round 5, Marvin Vettori is just going to be more hungry. He's going to get those takedowns. But like I said, at this point, it comes down to who wants it more. So if I'm wrong and Israel shows me no, the title is not going anywhere, how dare you pick against me? If he shows me that, it's greatness. It's greatness. Whoever wins this fight, it's literally greatness. And the subscriber question comes from Sood. Who has improved more since the first Adesanya versus Vettori bout? Is Marvin's ground game improved enough to hold Izzy down? Marvin has showed his wrestling. You know, he showed it against Kevin Holland. He showed it against Jack Hermansson. He basically mauled Jack Hermansson. Now, who's done that? Nobody's done that to the Joker. You know, he usually mauls guys himself, which we just saw against Edmund. So I would say it's fair to say Vettori's ground game has improved. However, Israel Adesanya has improved a lot too. And that's why this fight scares me. I'm going to still give the favourite to Adesanya. Because when it's striking, yeah, Adesanya's going to be winning. But I respect Vettori so much, I'm not going to put him as a big underdog. I'm actually going to take him to win the fight. So I'll put Adesanya minus 150, Vettori plus 120. And the actual numbers, we've got Vettori plus 200, plus 220. If Adesanya goes in there and just wipes him out completely, okay, fair enough. But Vettori's tough, man. He hasn't been finished by anyone. You know, he's going to go in there. He's going to look for takedowns. I don't think he should be that much of an underdog. And I'm somebody who's never picked against Adesanya. I think his striking's brilliant. But like I said before in this breakdown, styles make fights. Vettori wants to do one thing. Adesanya wants to do one thing. They're completely different. Alright guys, let me know who you're taking below. Underdogs, all of that good stuff. And I'll catch you on Friday. Alright, peace.